What if I told you that some of the TikTok most beautiful bookshelves are quietly built on depth? Behind those rainbow organized hardcovers, touring collector edition, and perfectly curated reading corners lies a cycle nobody wants to talk about: the compulsive consumption financed by credit cards, buy now, pay later, and the pressure to perform intelligence through aesthetic. Because on TikTok, books are no longer just books, they have become this status symbol, interior design, personality branding, proof of sophistication, and for many creators, keeping up with that image that comes with a financial cost far uglier than the shelves look online. Over the few years, TikTok BookTok community transformed reading from a private hobby into a hyper-visual lifestyle. Massive floor-to-ceiling libraries become aspirational content. Influencers film $5,000 bookstore or like use a grocery haul, limited edition, spread edges, special covers, annotated collection. Every purchase becomes another piece of aesthetic machine. And the algorithm rewards this excess. The bigger the bookshelf haul, the more credibility you appear to have, the more color coordinated your library looks, the more successful you seem, and slowly reading itself becomes secondary to literally consumption as performance. But beneath this fantasy is intellectual luxury sits a darker financial reality. Many of these aesthetic libraries cost thousands of dollars, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars to even maintain. And unlike traditional collector with disposable income, a growing number of young consumers are funding this purchase through installmental plans, revolving credit debt, impulsive spending habits, and constant restocking culture fueled by social media validation. This video investigates the hidden economy behind TikTok's most famous aesthetic bookshelf haul. We are breaking down the real cost of these curated libraries, examining how influencers culture normalize financial self-destruction in the name of aesthetic, and exposing the uncomfortable truth behind this bookshelf wealth. Because the shelf may look intelligent, aspirational on camera, but off camera, many people are drowning in depth just to look well read. And one thing I've noticed is books stop being about reading. The first stage of book talk overconsumption is the transformation of book from knowledge and storytelling into aesthetic prompts and identity markers. Social media shifted reading from a private intellectual activity into a public performance. The goal is no longer simply to enjoy literature, it's to display consumption. Owning book become more important than finishing it. And once book become visual status symbol, overconsumption become inevitable. See how TikTok turned reading into aesthetic hoarding. We see those curating vibes, building color coordinated shelves, buying matching edition, decorating reading corners, filming luxury bookshelf hauls. The bookshelf itself become the content. Reading become visually performatic. Bookshelf wealth becomes social currency. A massive bookshelf now signal intelligence, taste, productivity, soft luxury, emotional depth. Even if someone haven't read most of the book, the collection matters more than the relationship with the books. This creates pressure to constantly acquire more books to maintain the image. And also there is the algorithm that rewards the excess. TikTok visually rewards giant hauls, overflowing shelves, collector addiction, monthly research shopping, aesthetic organizing videos. A person reading one library book cannot compete with someone showing 60 new hardcovers. Consumption becomes content fuel. So creators now need more purchase to sustain this engagement. And also reading becomes consumption theater. We are talking this room decor, collectible merchandise, fashion accessories, all these special editions, spread edges, deluxe covers, and matching sets are marked emotionally rather than intellectually. Publishers and influencers both benefit from this cycle. The audience internalize the idea of real reader own huge curated libraries. Let's talk about the hidden depths behind this aesthetic reading. Book talk overconsumption survived because the financial reality is hidden. Audience see massive curated libraries and assume the creators behind them are wealthy or even financially comfortable or receiving endless free books. But in many cases, these aesthetic collections are quietly financed through credit cards, buy now, pay later service, paycheck cycling, impulsive spending, debt normalization. The internet romanticized the shelf while completely hiding the financial stress required to maintain them. Let me also talk about the affordable luxury illusion that people use. Books are psychologically dangerous consumer items because they feel educational and morally productive. People justify overspending because at least it's book. Reading is self-improvement, is better than partying, I am investing in knowledge. But those repeated small purchases become massive spending over time. A single $24 hardcover feel harmless, but when you buy 10 in a month, that's over $250. Collector edition is even more. Shelf, decorating, tab, cards, accessories, all this add up. The hobby quietly transforms into luxury expense disguised as self-improvement. I also want to talk about how buy now and pay later made overconsumption easier. Now there are services like installmental payments, credit card, one-click shopping, deferred billing. This allow consumers to emotionally buy more and emotionally ignore the consequences until like later. BookTok thrives in the environment because the purchase feel intellectual justified, emotional comforting, socially rewarded. Debts become invisible. Let's talk about how influencer culture hides this reality. Most creators rarely disclose how much they spend monthly on these, the existing debts, the sponsorship influence, the whether books were gifted, financial instability behind the content. Viewers compare themselves to this curated wealth performance without seeing the max up credit card, the unstable income, the impulsive shopping habits, the financial anxiety off camera. The shelf become a fantasy projection. Then mindful consumption disappears. People stop asking, will I read this? And they start asking, will this look good on the shelf? Will this complete the aesthetic? Will this perform well online? Books become commodities for visual identity construction. Let's talk about how the industry profit from this insecurity. The aesthetic bookshelf isn't just a personal spending problem, it's a business model that people don't even talk about. Once books are convince readers that a large curated library equals intelligence or credibility, publishers, retailers, influencers, and algorithm all found way to profit from the insecurity. The modern book industry no longer sells stories anymore. They sell you identity. And the more insecure consumers feel about their reading habit, the more money the ecosystem makes. This is where bookshelf wealth transformed from individual overconsumption into a highly profitable commercial machine. Publishers earn through this aesthetic sale. Years ago, most books were marketed around the author, the story, the library benefits. Today, most books are marketed around spread edges, deluxe edition, foil cover, collector box, matching set, exclusive retail edition. The physical object become the product. The reading experience become like the secondary. Okay, consumers are encouraged to buy multiple versions of the same book. We also have the limited edition, how it creates this artificial scarcity. BookTok's thrives on the fear of missing out. Consumers hear limited stock, exclusive edition, special release, collector's item. That phase triggers this urgency. People stop asking, do I need to read this? And start asking, what if I can't get this later? The purchase become emotional rather than intentional. And then influencers become sales funnels. Many BookTok creators genuinely love reading, but the platform increasingly rewards creators who constantly showcase new purchase. This results to more hauls, more affiliated links, more sponsored recommendation, more shopping content. The audience sees reading, the algorithm sees sales. Influencers become unpaid or paid marketers for constant consumption. And also we have the reader identity crisis. One of the most powerful psychological mechanisms in BookTok is identity marketing. Consumer become attaching self-worth to ownership. It's no longer I love reading, it's now the bookshelf proves that I'm a reader. This collection becomes evidence that I'm intelligent. This shelf become a personal brand. Buying books start feeling like a personal growth, even when reading never happens. Luxury bookshelf signals intelligence. That's why aesthetic libraries perform very well. People aren't just admiring the book, they're admiring what the book represents. The education, the culture, discipline, creativity, the bookshelf become this social currency. And then the real product is aspiration. BookTok isn't primarily selling book, it's selling the fantasy of becoming the kind of person who read this book. The industry benefits from this aspiration. People buy future version of themselves, imagine productivity, imagine intelligence, imagine transformation. Most purchases are driven by who consumers hope to become rather than what they genuinely want to read. The most revealing thing about BookTok aesthetic bookshelf culture is that the books was never really the point. If they were, we would spend more time talking about ideas than addiction, more time discussing stories than self-organization, more time reading books than shopping for them. Instead, an entire ecosystem has engined around the performance of reading, a system where touring bookshelves signals this intelligence, when collector's edition signals thirst, and where constant consumption is disguised as self-improvement. enjoyment. And that's what makes this form of consumption so difficult to even recognize. Unlike luxury fashion, expensive makeup, or designer handbags, books carry this moral halo. They organize with education, growth, and intellectual curiosity. This makes excessive spending feel justified. But debt doesn't care whether you're buying perfume, whether you're buying clothes or hardcover. A max or credit card doesn't become financially responsible because the purchase were a book. The maths remain the same. Behind many of these aspirational bookshelves is the reality that social media rarely shows. Open packages, unread collection, financial anxiety, and the constant pressure to keep consuming in order to maintain an image. And perhaps that's the biggest irony of all this. A culture built around reading has convinced people to spend more time acquiring books rather than actually reading them. The solution isn't stop buying books. The solution isn't to shame collectors. The solution is to separate the love of reading from the pressure to perform reading. So to remember that a library card is less valuable than a library wall. The one well-loved book can offer more value than 50 unread ones. And that your intelligence, creativity, and love for literature are not measured by how many books you own. Because the more meaningful relationship you will have with a book isn't when it's sitting perfectly arranged on your shelf. It's when you are reading it. If you have made it this far, thank you so much. And I would like to hear your thoughts. Have you ever felt pressure to buy a book because of BookTok or even social media? Have you ever purchased a book simply because it looks beautiful on the shelf? Or have you ever bought a book and let it sit for months or years? Let's know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, consider giving it a like, subscribing for more deep dive into overconsumption, underconsumption, the influencing, and influencer trend that shouldn't have been normalized. Thank you so much for sticking with me in this video. I am Blessing, and I will see you in the next video.